Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Jai Radha Damodara, Radha Damodara Shri Radhe, Jai Radha Damodara, Radha Damodara Shri Radhe, Jaya Lalita Vishaka, Lalita Vishaka Shri Radhe, Lalita Vishaka, Lalita Vishaka Shri Radhe. Goranita, 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 Jaya Goranita, Prabhupada, 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 Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jaya Gurudev. Jai Gaura Haribol. Om Vishnupada Paramhamsa Acharya Stotara Satashi Srimad Divine Grace Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So today we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 19, text number 27. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naranchavam Narottamam Devam Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jayam Udayat Nasta Prashu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavati Sevayat Bhagavatu Tamashloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nashtaki. So text 27. See if I can read this. Satyam Dishararti Tamartito Nirnam Naivartadodyat Punar Artitayataha Swayam Vidate Bhajatam Anishchatam Ishja Pridhat Nam Nija Padapalavam. Satyam, certainly, Dishakti, he offers, Artitum, the object prayed for, Artita, Artitaha, being prayed to, Nirnam, by the human beings, Na, not, Eva, indeed, Artadaha, the bestower of benediction, Yat, which, Puna, again, Punaha, again, Artita, a demand for a benediction. Yataha, from which, Swayam, personally, Vidate, he gives, Bhajatam, unto those in his service, and Ichatam, although not desiring it, Icha Pidhanam, Pidhanam, which covers all desirable things, Nija Pada Palavam, his own lotus feet. Srila Prabhupada's translation and purport. The Supreme Personality of Godhead fulfills the material desires of a devotee who approaches him with such motives. But he does not bestow benedictions upon the devotee that will cause him to demand more benedictions again. However, the Lord willingly gives the devotee shelter at his lotus feet, even though such a person does not aspire for it. and that shelter satisfies all his desires. That is the Supreme Personality's special mercy. Srila Prabhupada's purport. The devotees mentioned in the previous verse approach the Supreme Personality of Godhead with material motives. But this verse explains how such devotees are saved from those desires. The Srimad Bhagavatam 2.3.10 advises, Akama sara karmuiva moksha kama udaradhi tivrena bhakti yogena yajata pudashamparam. Whether one is freed from all material desires, is full of material desires, or desires to become one with the Supreme, he should engage in devotional service. In this way, not only will the devotee's desires be fulfilled, but the day will come when he will have no other desire than to serve the lotus feet of the Lord. One who engages in the service of the Lord with some motive is called sakama bhakta. And one who serves the Lord without any motives is called akama bhakta. Krishna is so merciful that he turns a sakama bhakta into an akama bhakta. A pure devotee, an akama bhakta who has no material motives, is satisfied simply to serve the lotus feet of the Lord. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 6.22. Yam labha chaparam labham manyate nadhikam tataha. If one engages in the service of the lotus feet of the Lord, he does not want anything more. This is the highest stage of devotional service. The Lord is so kind, even to a sakama bhakta, a motivated devotee, that he satisfies his desires in such a way that one day he becomes an akama bhakta. Dhruva Maharaj, for example, became an akama. Dhruva Maharaj, for example, became a bhakta with the motive of getting a better kingdom than that of his father. But finally, he became an akama bhakta and said to the Lord, Swamin kartato smin varam yache. My dear Lord, I am very satisfied simply to serve your lotus feet. I do not want any material benefits. Sometimes it is found that a small child eats dirty things, but his parents take away the dirty things and offer him a sandash or some other sweetmeat. Devotees who aspire for material benedictions are compared to such children. The Lord is so kind that he takes away their material desires and gives them the highest benediction. Therefore, even for material motives, one should not worship anyone other than the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One must fully engage himself in the devotional service of the Lord so that his desires will be fulfilled. At the end, he can go back home, back to Godhead. This is explained in Chaitanya Charitamrita and the Madhya Lila 22:37 to 39 and 41 as follows. Anyakami. A devotee may desire something other than service to the lotus feet of the Lord. Yadi kare Krishnera bhajan. But if he engages in Lord Krishna's service, namagetika Krishna tare dena swacharana. Krishna gives him shelter at his lotus feet, even though he does not aspire for it. Krishna kahe, the Lord said, Amabaje, he is engaged in my service. Majesh vishayat shuka, but he wants the benefit of material sense gratification. Amrita charavisha mage, amrita shadi visha mage. Such a devotee is like a person who asks for poison instead of nectar. E bara murkiha, that is his foolishness. Ami Vijna, but I am experienced. A Murke Vishaya Krishna Diva. Why should I give such a foolish person the very things of material enjoyment? Swa Charanamrita. It would be better for me to give him shelter at my lotus feet. Vishaya Bulaiba. Vishaya Bulahiba. I shall engage him to forget all material desires. Kamalaki Krishna Bhaje. If one engages in the service of the Lord for sense gratification, Para Krishna, Pai, Paya Krishna Rashe. The result is that he ultimately gets a taste for serving the lotus feet of the Lord. Kamachare Adasha Haite Haya Abilashe. Kamachari Adasha Hati Haya Abilashe. He can then give up all material desires and wants to become an eternal servant of the Lord. Okay, my dear devotees, Om Ganata Mirandasya, Ganagana Shalakaya, Chakshura Yena, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha, Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale, Swayam Rupa Kadamayam, Tadati Swapadantikam, Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Parakamalan, Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha, Shri Rupam Sagrajatam, Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam, Tam Sajivam, Sadvaitam Sarabhutam, Parijana Sahitam, Vishwa Chaitanya Devam, Shri Radha Krishna Padan, Sahagana Lalita, Shri Vishakam Vitamscha. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu, Dinabandhu Jagapate, Gopesha Gopika Kanta, Radha Kanta Namastude, Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi, Radhe Vrindavaneshwari, Vishabhanu Sata Devi, Pranamami Hari Priya, Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhu Bhevacha, Patita Nampavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo, Namo Namaha. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasaya Bhutale, Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Tinamine. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharine, Nirvishesha Sunyavadi, Vastatya Deshatarine. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasaya Bhutale, Shrimati Bhakti Tirtha Swami Tinamine. Namaste Krishna Padaya Prabhupada Shitatmane, Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti Bhakti Tirtha Tinamine, Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Shri Vasari Shri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Oh, Vanshakopaturubhishya Kripasinjuheva Chapatitanam Pavnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So I'm going to read the translation again. The Supreme Personality of Godhead fulfills the material desires of a devotee who approaches him with such motives, but he does not bestow benedictions upon the devotee that will cause him to demand more benedictions again. However, the Lord willingly gives the devotee shelter at his own lotus feet, even though such a person does not aspire for it. And that shelter satisfies all his desires. That is the Supreme Personality's special mercy. Hari Hari. Wow. So this is a very encouraging verse for everyone. Persons that are already aware that they're devotees and those that may not be aware of that they're devotees. The devotees, as they're inspired, they're able to help those that may not be aware that they're devotees yet. So this verse is very encouraging. And of course, we hear as we read Srila Prabhupada's purport how he's quoting Lord Chaitanya, and he's quoting from the Chaitanya Charitamrita and quoting Lord Chaitanya, and how Lord Chaitanya himself is speaking these words of encouragement for everyone. Yeah, Krishna, he is very tricky to his devotees. He promises, he gives us in this verse an understanding that we devotees go through many different stages, or aspiring devotees. There's many different stages that someone may go through. However, at the last stage of bhakti, prema, Krishna says, he's letting us know that he's promising us he's going to bring us to that last stage. So Krishna, he always delivers. He delivers to everyone. There are different people that come to Krishna, different people that's looking for God, and in different ways they may approach the Lord. Yesterday, I was at the hospital. Ikavir had an appointment, and I went with him. And as I was sitting while he had gone to see the person he was talking to. I was sitting in the waiting room, and as I was sitting there, there were a few people, few ladies, a couple of ladies, and apparently they're there for also to just to see different doctors. Anyway, this one lady, she somehow we got into a conversation, and it was quite interesting because she was sharing that she was 93 years old. She was 93. And I was immediately thinking, how wonderful to see this person 93 years old. And I'm sitting here having an opportunity to talk to this person. And I'm thinking, okay, Krishna, there must be a reason that somehow, because normally I have a book and I just open my book and read my book while I wait. Somehow this lady was very eager to speak. And as we spoke, I learned some things about her life. And understood that, she is and had been someone that God was very much in the center of her life. Not that she had any awareness, of course, about Krishna or Bhakti, but she had an awareness that she was living that life as long as she was, as long as she is, because there's some purpose. And it was very interesting that she understood. She kept saying to me, she said, I don't know why God is letting me live so long in this body. Well, she didn't say the body, but she said, I don't know why God is letting me live so long. So, I'm 93 years old, and she was quite healthy. She looked quite healthy in her body. She looked strong. She was by herself. It was quite interesting. And then she said, I don't know. She said, but I have faith in God that He's had me here for some reason. I can still drive my own car. I can still do all these things that I'm doing. I still cook for myself, and I'm thinking, wow. And my body, I don't think like that. I don't feel like that. And in any case, she expressed to me. She says, I have faith. I have faith in God. She says, we make our faith. We make our faith, and then our faith makes us. And I just smiled, as she said that, because it was her words of wisdom. Our faith makes us. So she's living in this body. She doesn't have an awareness of Krishna yet. However, she has some understanding about the Lord being in her life, and understood that this life, the life that she was living at that age, was only because of some reason, some mercy that she was getting from the Lord to live this long. She was even, like I said, she's questioning it. So there's different. So as I listened to her, I was reflecting on different. Well, what was my purpose? Firstly, I was reflecting, Krishna, you have me sitting here, I'm listening to this lady. Of course, this lady is teaching me about being in a body and being in old age, and having faith in the Lord so strongly. So what is my purpose? What is my purpose for sitting here, my dear Lord? Well, what is it that you want me to say, or what? And so we understand that our mission is internal as well as it is external. So externally, I'm sitting with someone that has faith, have no deep understanding. This person is teaching me some things about living in the material body to that age, because I never thought I would want to live to that age. However, I'm learning something from her. Krishna explains, there's gurus that comes all different ways. And at the same time, I understood Krishna internally. Krishna, please let me know, what is it that I'm supposed to do with this lady? And so what the realization I had at the time is to remember that people come to Krishna in different ways. Some people come because they're distressed. They want some relief from their suffering and their sickness and their material calamities. And in her case, this lady's case, she was a very happy, seemingly a very happy person. And so I was reflecting, okay, she's in some distress. She's here in the doctor's office. She's sharing with me that she, was diagnosed with some cancer in her back. But she wasn't so bothered. She's 93 years old. Okay, whatever. She'd been through many diseases. So she had come to that point where she was realizing, okay, I've done all I need to do in this body. Now I can't do anything else. Only God can take me out of it. But there are people that come to the Lord when they're distressed like that. They turn to God. And so I thought, okay, Krishna, she's not as distressed as I would think because she's in a doctor's, she here in this doctor's office. However, she has some distress because she has cancer. And so maybe I can say something, just to encourage her. And because I'm aware of the cancer process, in terms of having served someone with the cancer process, I was able to share something without disturbing her mind in terms of where she's at in her evolving process. So the point here is that when people are distressed, they turn to God even more. And then, of course, there are people that are curious. So she turned out to be someone that was curious because what happened is I just took that statement she made, our faith makes us. And I asked her, please tell me more about that. How does our faith make us? And so, and of course, she started explaining from a Christian perspective because that was her background. And I said, yeah, I really understand that. Faith makes us, when we have faith, we become more curious to learn more. We want to understand more. We want to go deeper with what God is giving us, what God wants to share with us. And I said, yeah, I totally can understand the statement that our faith makes us. And I shared with her, my background a little bit and said, yeah, as I was searching for God, I was introduced to this path. And many people don't know this path, And then I got a chance to say a little bit about bhakti because she's 93 years old. She's not intimidated. She's not in any way disturbed. She's like, okay, I'm going to die anyway. So she was quite open. So someone like that, a person that's curious, yeah, when they start having a little bit of understanding about the difference between the body and the soul, which is what I introduced to her, that yes, these bodies, they're so temporary and they harass us so much. And, but you're so fortunate to live until you're 93 years old and you've seen so much. And please share more about what you've learned in your life. And just by becoming a friend, just by opening to this person, having an open mind and encouraging this person, that fanned her flame of curiosity. Krishna says such a person can come to me if they're curious. And then, of course, there's the person that has desire for wealth, that type of a person. Well, we see that all in the world, right? People, they desire kingdom, they desire enjoyment, they desire so many things in this life, money, women. We know all about that. And yeah, if someone is able to meet a devotee, if someone is very fortunate to meet a devotee, then that way of thinking of being attached to wealth can easily be transformed. If someone has that security that a devotee can, or a book or something, devotees come through the book some way, then a person can have a desire for wealth. However, that desire for wealth can be transformed. And, I'm sure many of us have seen that even in our own lives, that we may have some desire to accumulate wealth. However, as we start hearing and more from the sastras, from the scriptures, then we start minimizing that desire, starts being transformed. And we start utilizing that desire or dovetailing that desire to serve Krishna. We may not totally become free from that desire for wealth. However, that what's transformed is who we use the wealth for. And so these kinds of devotees, these are called sakama. In the text, Prabhupada is mentioning about sakama devotees. So this type of person, they if they're engaging their wealth in Krishna's service, then they will eventually, Prabhupada is explaining, that they will actually become a fully Anyabalasita Sunyam, fully dedicated to the Supreme Lord, fully dedicated to the Lord's service. And we have many examples of that. Of course, Prabhupada used the example of Dhruva Maharaj. We see even in regular devotee life, there are many devotees that have wealth karma, and it's not so difficult, for them to do things in a Vaishya mentality to accumulate wealth. However, we see many of those persons, they utilize whatever money they have in the service of the Lord. They're engaging the service of the Lord. Actually, I remember being in Mumbai and speaking with I can't remember Jamuna's husband, Mother Jamuna's husband. Can't remember his name right now. But anyway, he was sharing how he had such money karma and how Lakshmi came to him so easily. And sometimes he would even question, things he would do, and just, he would be able to connect with Lakshmi Devi. Lakshmi Devi would flow. However, after he met Srila Prabhupada, then of course we know Srila Prabhupada engaged him to use that wealth. And he used that wealth in building the Krishna Balaram temple. And so there are many devotees like that accumulate wealth and they use it in Krishna's service. However, they first come to Krishna having that desire for wealth. And even might continue, even when we understand the science of the fan, right? You take the fan, unplug the fan, but it still keeps going for some time. So yeah, that person might still have some desire for wealth. It might be very mixed. And however, Prabhupada is reinforcing what we're told by Sukadeva Goswami, or that as we continue in devotional service, as we engage in devotional service, that desire to just have wealth for I, me, and mine, that mentality will disappear. It won't be there. It will be minimized, and eventually it will become pure. And then, of course, we have the seeker of knowledge, the Gyanis, and they already have some understanding of the Lord. They have some knowledge. They have some knowledge. They may not fully, completely understand Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. However, they do have an understanding of the body and the soul. And so we have these types of personalities that approach Krishna, and they are considered sakama devotees, people that might still have material desires, persons that might still have material desires. Like I remember in my own life, endeavoring to have an education and all the other things, because I really wanted to learn. I just loved to learn. I was a person before I met a devotee that was eager to, I probably would have been an eternal student in a university, just living in a university, because that was just my attraction, was to learning about things and people in the world and all that. And how does things work in this life? How does it work? And so, of course, Krishna's mercy came through, because Krishna sent a devotee to help me to be able to dovetail that propensity to want to learn and to endeavor to learn about bhakti. And so here, Prabhupada is speaking about material desires. So the emphasis is on material desires, and he's emphasizing that whether from this verse in Srimad Bhagavatam, whether a person is freed from material desires or full of material desires, or the desires to become one with Krishna, the impersonalists, they desire to become one with Krishna, that person needs to engage in devotional service. And Krishna also says in Bhagavad Gita, everyone is on my path, right? Everyone. So even though a person may be unaware of devotional service, they may be unaware of the personality Krishna, still they're on a path. They're on their way to understanding about understanding the Lord. Now, of course, we know that for one to engage in bhakti, one would need to be approached by one of the Lord's representatives in some way or another, by Krishna's representative. And so the other point that was coming very clear to me from hearing this verse about material desires, what kind of rang true for me is how kind Krishna is, how glorious, how loving. And I think about that, when we come to bhakti, we hear, bhakti is all about love. Bhakti is about unending joy. Bhakti is about ultimate bliss. We hear all these things in the very beginning, and of course when we connect with the Lord's devotees, we have an opening in the heart, and we do get a slight taste, a bit of a taste. At least I know I got a bit of a taste, that there is something here that is tastier, much more much more blissful, much more joyful than what I had been experienced prior to meeting a devotee of the Lord. And so then we endeavored to pursue that. And that pursuit, we're reading not too long ago that that pursuit can go on for quite some time, in just trying to engage more in this love that, or this feeling that we get from hearing about Krishna, from engaging in any of the processes of devotional service. There's a sweet taste that comes, and we hanker for that taste more and more and more and more. And as we dive deeper into the mercy of Krishna, as we dive deeper into offering ourselves to Krishna, then Krishna reciprocates, and Krishna gives us more of that understanding about him. So yes, yesterday. So again, back to that story of that lady yesterday, when she, after we were leaving, she was just sharing again as we walked through the elevator. She's still speaking. She's a very talkative lady, and I could tell that for her level of understanding, she was experiencing some joy. I could feel that. However, in bhakti, the joy that we experience is the joy of actually knowing personally the Lord, and knowing personally different, very intimate understandings about the Lord. And so that brought me to this, as I said, this realization, how Krishna is so very kind. Because as I came in the house and I looked around and I thought, wow, in my house, and I'm sure in every one of our homes, in every one of our rooms, we see something that reminds us about Krishna. Something, whether it's pictures or whether it's deities or whether it's whatever it might be, whatever. There's so many things that my plants remind me of Krishna. Whatever it might be, we have so many different ways that we can think about the Lord, and so many ways we can immerse ourselves, or we can absorb ourselves in remembering the Lord. And that's all Krishna asks us, is just try to remember me. Just remember me. So I was thinking, Krishna, you love us so much. You sent, Prabhupada, I think, mentions in the purport. I don't know, I think it's this purport where he's saying, that that he's saying that I'm let's see, my Lord, I'm very satisfied simply to serve your lotus feet. I do not want any material benefits. And then he gives an analogy about the small child. And so, of course, he says that from the pastime of Dhruva Maharaj, how Dhruva Maharaj, he's wanting a kingdom greater than his father, and then he realizes that when he gets to experience this taste of Krishna, see this the Lord, he doesn't want anything else. He doesn't want anything else. Nothing seems to have any meaning to him, except that he wanted that taste, that he wanted that experience more and more and more. And so that is the Lord's mercy for us, for all of us, because we're all blessed to be able to just go be in our homes and want to learn more about the Lord. We just by how Krishna manifests themselves in the different things in our lives. Prabhupada explains that for the living entity, Krishna incarnates in different forms to assist living entities in all different universes, on all different planetary systems. He assumes different forms for the benefit of everyone that has left his loving embrace, their loving embrace, Srimad Radharani and Krishna. And so he makes all these different arrangements. And I was thinking how fortunate that we are that we have that. We have that in our homes. We could just go to a bookcase and open a book, and there is Krishna right there. He's made himself available. He's made himself available through the literature that we have. He's made himself available through seeing each other, through encouraging each other, through serving each other, and ultimately utilizing that mood of service that we do with each other to serve him. This is what's so incredible about this process of bhakti, that is so alive. It's so very, very alive. It's not like this lady, she's speaking about faith, and she's speaking about how faith makes us, which is absolutely true. And it sounds ethereal. However, for us, it's real. It's alive. It's like happening in our every single day. We can at any time open the computer and hear a devotee's voice, hear someone speak about, the Lord in some way or another. And so here, this in this verse, I'm going to close with that, because the point that Prabhupada is making is to understand the Sakama devotee, they do engage the Sakama devotee. They're evolving. They're persons that are evolving in this Anyabalasita Sunya, in pure devotional service. They're evolving. And I kind of see, that this is the opportunity that we have when we get to meet, when we get to hear from the scriptures. We get to go deeper. We get to connect deeper internally with the Supreme Lord. And so we get to develop that love for the Lord, awaken that love for the Lord. And then, of course, as Prabhupada explains, then there's the Akama devotee that already have this awakening. They have this love for the Lord. They're not afraid of anything. One of the examples Prabhupada gives about the Sakama devotees is that they're sometimes disturbed. They're sometimes disturbed in the mind. But however, Krishna is so kind, he appears and in different ways in order to help us. And so, then he gives the example about the Akama devotees, that they serve the Lord without any motive. They have no desire for any kind of sense gratification. Even in the greatest danger, they think about how this is all arranged. They have no fears because they understand Krishna is arranging everything. Even if Prabhupada explains, even if a Akama devotee is suffering, they think, oh, it's just due to my past activities. And that's available for us as we take shelter of this process, this devotion, the process of serving the Lord and serving the Lord's devotees, then we also develop this mood. We also develop this consciousness. Prabhupada refers to the verse, Tatenukam Pamchishamixiamano, Bujani Evatma Ritam Vipakam. I remember the first time I heard this verse was in Mayapur many, many years ago. A devotee, I was in a class and the devotee was mentioning this verse. And he was sharing, yeah, no matter what the stress you go through, if you just hold on to this verse and just keep this verse, close to your heart, you'll pass through whatever it might be. And I've seen over the years, how important this verse is, which is why Krishna shares it in the 10th canto. So for a pure devotee, they, even when they're going through any kind of suffering, whatever it might be, then they just offer prayers and they just take shelter for it from verses like these. And so so this process of devotional service that's given to us by the Lord, that one of the persons that I've been studying recently is Narada Muni, because he's the greatest propounder of devotional service. And he speaks in so convincingly and so eloquently about this process of devotional service. And so in the beginning, at least for me, I'm hearing it through like my ear of knowledge, of wanting to learn, and always eager to grow, always eager to learn more. At a point, though, that will develop into love. It will develop into actually really loving the Lord and understanding how every living entity is blessed, to be able to have someone or that will help them to understand the Lord more. And so I want to close with that and open up. I saw that we have many eloquent devotees here in this class. I think I saw Mukunda, and I wanted to say something about Mukunda. Because this process, is constantly evolving. It's constant evolving process of bhakti are constantly evolving. And I remember having some desire to know the Lord. I remember that so very clearly over 45 years ago. I was definitely having a Gyan mentality. And at the same time, I was wanting to understand more about the Lord. And somehow or other, Krishna sent Ekendra or Mukunda in my life at that time to give me some deeper understanding, deeper awareness. And so I'm always grateful. He also introduced me to my spiritual master, Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj. And this is the aliveness of this person, of this process that Krishna in his glorious, magnanimous nature is always arranging for everyone to have some way that they can connect with him. And so I want to thank Mukunda. He's on this class. So 45 years ago, more than that, even more than 45 years ago, he gave me an opportunity to go deeper. And I'm eternally grateful to him for that. This is how the process works. So all of us are benedicted to do this, every single one of us. And whether it's just to give a person a smile, whether it's just to give a person a conversation, whether it's just to listen to another person, this is how Krishna works. Gives us this mercy to share it with others. Okay, my dear friends, I'm gonna let you have some things to say. You can reflect on how this verse impacts your own life, and it'll be nice for you to share that with everyone here. The verse again, I'll share it, is the Supreme Personality of Godhead fulfills the material desires of a devotee who approaches him with such motives, but he does not bestow benediction upon the devotee that will cause him to demand more benedictions, especially if they're not serious, right? However, the Lord willingly gives the devotee shelter at his own lotus feet, even though such a devotee does not aspire for it. And that shelter satisfies all his desires. That is the Supreme Personality's special mercy. So meeting that lady yesterday was a blessing for me, because certainly, as I said, I'm not thinking about 93 years old. Don't even ever even think about wanting to go be there. So got to understand that a little more. And I'm guessing Krishna used me to just help that lady to smile and to be grateful that God is in her life. Hari Hari. Okay, dear devotees. This is the time. I love this quiet time. I give classes in different places, and sometimes I speak and it's not time to ask questions or share their realizations. And those devotees, they get really concerned, because they're like, I want to share and you didn't give us enough time. And so I'm like, so conscious, stop. They tell me 15 minutes before, stop. Like, okay, because everybody wants to talk, everybody wants to share. And so then I'm in Gita Nagari, and I'm always like, oh, here's the pause, but here's Agari Krishna. Haribo.
Hi, Srimad. Thank you so much
Agari
for
Prabhu.
that. Yeah, wonderful class on Krishna's characteristic, parental characteristic of transforming the Sakama to the Akama devotee. So my question relates to your spiritual master's teachings on transforming lust into love. So I've been into just like trying to reform my sadhana. I've been reading these experts on habit, how to cultivate good habits and also how bad habits work as well. And one thing they speak about is basically creating habits from the level of identity. So from the level of ego. So for example, if one is addicted to sugar, then, or, one is a nicotine smoker and they offered a cigarette, they say, instead of saying, no, I'm trying to quit, they should rather say, no, I'm not a smoker. So similarly, even in Krishna consciousness, it can be that, okay, I have an addiction to sugar. And then when the temptation is there, the road is facade of sugar. Instead of saying, oh, no, I'm trying to give up sugar, I should just say, no, I'm a self-controlled yogi, for example. So like beyond like these affirmations on, trying to recondition oneself for cultivating bhakti, is it that, did your spiritual master speak about this? Like you tell yourself affirmations on the level of your ontology. So in other words, I may have a temptation in devotional service, but then I remember, just like how one could remember, oh, okay, I shouldn't eat today because it's a fast day. So I should remember, oh, I should read because I want to cultivate the habit of reading, and I should think, oh, yes, I'm a devotee of Krishna, and I want to cultivate more knowledge about Krishna. Uh, like, did he speak about this, or like, yeah, that's one question. And then secondly is that how do you, what is the practical step of, cultivating good habits in devotional service such that one can be more receptive to Krishna's mercy of transforming the Sakama desires to the Akama desires?
Agari Krishna, I love when you ask anything. I know it sounds like a question, but the thing I love is that you know this answer, and I'm guessing. I know you ask questions for others that might want to understand deeper how to internally connect with the Lord, and so I
No,
appreciate you for that.
I genuinely actually have this question. I'm not like trying to
I mean, you're a
pontificate from a
philosopher.
perch. of self-righteousness and thinking I'm like some better than others. I really
Oh,
want to know your perspective. It's so rich, you know.
yeah. So just well, from what you just shared just now, my spiritual master was a realist, and he didn't really encourage us so much to be in like a shame and guilt mentality. That was just not his mood. He was more of an encourager wherever we were on the path in terms of evolving. He would encourage us to, yes, to understand the deeper aspects of the philosophy. At the same time, he would be there to walk our hands through whatever it was that we might have been going through at any particular time. The habit, the way he would have us to let's say evolve through that habit. I can give an example of, because you mentioned smoking. I remember a devotee wanting to be initiated, and she was smoking. And so, at that time, I was the person that was going to my Guru Maharaj and sharing people that wanted to get initiated. And I said, well, she really wants to get initiated. She's, really into wanting to get connected to the process of bhakti. However, she's smoking. And he said to me, he said, okay. He said, well, you be with her. You share with her that in order for her to get initiated, she needs to stop, but it's not going to be easy to stop because that's going to take some time. He said, so what I want you to do is be with her. Just be with her means give her your presence in terms of letting her know what the standard is. However, your connection with her, you're developing a deeper connection with her is what's going to help her with that habit. And so I did that. And that devotee just, at some point, they just stopped because ultimately, my Guru Maharaj always says the greatest weapon is love. The greatest weapon is to really help someone and let them know, I'm here for you. I'm not here to judge you. I'm not here to put you in shame. I'm not here to put you in guilt. I mean, Mukunda, I knew Mukunda as a Kendra before he got initiated in the name of Mukunda. But Mukunda can tell you, we had many, 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 many stories when we were living in Africa, as we had a little team of devotees, and we were all struggling. All of us were really struggling in different ways. And the way that Aguma showed us so much love and affection and care at that time is what helped all of us with whatever different challenges, obstacles we may have been facing at that time, at the time, because we spent many, many years, preaching in Africa. So in terms of habits, Prabhu, as you know, there are many, there's a book called what is it? The Atomic Habits. That gives you, like, materially speaking, can give you ways to deal with that. However, from a transcendental bhakti place, it's like that lady says, our fate makes our fate. So to have faith that Krishna loves us, and to really, in endeavor to know that Krishna can give us a higher taste, and that comes from our desire. That comes from our desire, and that takes time. And be patient with I've learned that over my life. I see Mukunda's hand is up, but I need to be patient with myself. I need to be tolerant with myself. I need to understand what my weaknesses are. I need to really pray to the Lord. I really need to take shelter with the devotees. Again, I say this again and again and again and again. We all need to have a confidant, at least one person that we can share. Like in that case, that girl shared with me, that person, about the cigarette smoking. And I watched that person. That person is now blissfully engaged in practicing bhakti. So yeah, that's what I learned practically from my spiritual master. Ekendra Mukunda, he introduced me to my spiritual master, as I said. So I see he wants to share something.
Thank you
Mukunda,
so much, Ma, for that answer.
thank you, Agari Krishna Prabhu. I think Ekendra comes from a philosophy. I shared this with you about Ekendra. In the early years of Krishna consciousness, we were in Ghana, or we were no, we weren't in Ghana. We were in Zambia. In Zambia, And Ekendra, talk about habits. Ekendra Mukunda, sorry. He used to, after the morning program, this is the morning program is finished, he would lock himself in a room. And I would hear him speaking in the room. And I would wonder, and it took us some time before I finally just approached him and asked him, what are you doing in that room? And who are you talking to? And he said, oh, I'm giving class. I said, to who? To myself. Well, to myself, and Krishna is there. He's in the class. And that's how he learned to be so sastri. That's a habit that he developed. And I watched him do that. He would sit, he would be in that room and give himself that time, create that space for himself. Everything else is going on. He just disconnected totally. And he would be in there and give class. And there was nobody in that room except him and Krishna. And so I always remember that about him. Okay, Mukunda, Prabhu, sorry.
Dhanavad,
Dhanavad.
Haribol. So, I think also just one thing, I think your coming to Bhakti was also your own previous samskars. So I don't think I had very much to do with it. I think sometimes Krishna may make some external arrangement. Like if you check any devotee's life, they will have some person who sort of manifested at a particular time, but really it's always the bhakti samskars that we had that produced that arrangement. And so it's really, Krishna's mercy as Antaryami, as Super Soul, that he's monitoring from life to life our progress and arranges in each life for us to pick up in the next iteration and move forward. So somebody's always the catalyst for that, but the real substratum or the real undercurrent is Krishna himself in the heart and looking, this person wants to attain me, so I'll arrange it this way, I'll arrange it that way. In regards to Babuji's question, also, Rajalila was mentioning that Srila Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj was very patient, but really, it wasn't just the patience, but it was the example, right? Because if somebody can be very patient with you, but you have to see the example of that lifestyle, right? And then you want to emulate that lifestyle in the beginning because you may not have really realization, but you want to emulate because you see that's a progressive path to obtaining the goal. So for many devotees, they were looking at the example. For instance, just as a quick story, we went to visit the president of Zambia once. And I remember when we came back from the visit, we were staying in the house of one judge. And we were all in one room because it wasn't a big house. And so I had to share the bed with Maharaj. And, it was like late at night when we got back already. And so Maharaj would say, Kendra, you sleep? I said, no. Then he would go over, wow, it was really amazing what we did and so forth. Then we would be quiet for a minute. Then I say, Maharaj? He said, yeah, yeah. And then we start talking about it again. And this went on to like 1 o'clock or something in the morning. So normally, we all got up for Mangal Arati, normally around, 4 o'clock to do Mangal. So, but Maharaj said, listen, you have to drive tomorrow back to the place we were staying. So we should rest in for a little bit. So I thought rest in meant that we would sleep to like 8 or 9 to get up to drive. He said, no, we should get up around 5 instead of 4. So his habit, his mindset was that we should not miss the Brahma Muhurta hours, right? So we should rest in. We don't have to get up at 4, but we should not miss the Brahma Muhurta hours. My idea was we should sleep to 9 and then get up so I could drive without falling asleep, right? But anyway, the example is very important. So both in who I consider to be my Pradakshak Guru and like Shiksha Guru, Bhakti Maharaj, and in my own Gurudev, my Gurudev was very, very affectionate to me. Very affectionate. And my Gurudev is Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And from the first day that we met in 86 and then in 96, when I took his shelter, he was always very affectionate and always very intimately revealed heart to heart what is bhakti. So the important thing in developing a good habit is being around people with good habits for one, but also people who have a great deal of love and affection for you who are spiritually advanced. So Rupa Goswami and others have mentioned sadhu sangha is the most important thing to develop good habits. Externally, you can externally develop the habit of going through the motions of bhakti, but if you want to get the real meaning of what it is you're doing, you should do those habits in sadhu sangha. That was the benefit of being around Maharaj. At that time, there were not so many disciples. That was even before Maharaj was initiating, and we had that example because we were living in the restaurant before we went to Africa, and he had the example every day Mangalarti, every day Harikatha, every day set of service. So that set a foundation. Then later on, of course, in my Guru Maharaj, same thing. And also my Guru Maharaj would make that you've studied so many things. Because that time I'd also, when I was in Africa, I went to learn Hindi actually from the lady who lived on the corner from us. But she said, if you learn Devanagari, you might as well learn Sanskrit. So I started studying Sanskrit at that time and tried to develop it. So when I met my Guru Maharaj, I said, oh, you're learning so many things, but you should try to learn deeply what they mean and apply that to the habits. So keep the habits, but apply the depth of understanding to the habits, and that will produce some efficacy in the practice of bhakti. Mhm. So we want good habits, but we also want the depth of understanding of the habits. And in bhakti, everything is there. Srila Prabhupada gave this program, and if you analyze the program, from the time you wake up in the morning, if you say Nama Om, before you put your feet on the ground, you offer your pranams to your Gurudev. So you say Nama Om, Vishnu Pada, etc. So if you just took 1 minute to think, what is the meaning of Nama, so many things will unfold in your heart. Then you just understand what is Nama, right? Because the doorway to bhakti is Saranagati or surrender. Namaha encapsulates that full thing because Namaha means na ahamameti, not I and mine. So it means removing the ahamkar. And as soon as you remove ahamkara, then you could start to get some glimpse of your actual spiritual identity. So then your practice becomes effective, so to speak. So develop good habits, but also develop good understanding in those habits. Jai Haribol.
Haribol, thank you very much, Mukunda Prabhu. Yeah, I'm just looking at the chat. So many nice realizations inspired by the meeting, the elderly woman. Agari Jai, Lila Kishore Jai. Agari, thank you so much, Prabhu, for your enriched answer. Yeah, you know, one of the things I've come to understand about habits, practically speaking, is to just not hold on to resentments and anger in our lives. If we can just start with trying to understand that a little bit deeper in our everyday life, then we can make a lot of progress in bhakti. And that can be a lifetime of learning because we have so many things in our hearts from this life, from previous lives that we hold on to that we're not even so conscious of. So we need to really, as Mukunda said, find people that are exemplary in love, in respect, in care. Those kinds of examples are important. And that was us, that was Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj. That was Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj. That's what we saw from his practical example. He not only was practically connected with the rituals of bhakti, but he was deeply connected, deeply with compassion and care for everyone. All right, Prabhus, thank you so very much. Tagora, Radhe. Anybody else? Tarka Prabhu, you have some last words for us? Okay, thank you.
Hare Krishna, thank you for your class. Yeah, I'm sorry for the delay. I'm having a lot of trouble with my computer. It needs to be replaced. I have a few thoughts, but it would take a while, and we've already run 10 minutes over time, so I don't want to hold everybody up. Everyone's got important things to attend to, so I thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. It's nice to hear your voice. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Okay, Prabhus. Yashadev, I'm off. Okay, Yashadev got the 2 kids. Let's go around both. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Have a wonderful day, a blessed day. Parameshwari, Haribol, Hare Krishna.